Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to DKMN Esports. Here for round number 10 is the season finale here in Season 3 in the Elite Series, and we take to the fantastic Saudi Arabian Grand Prix for a blast around the Jeddah Street Circuit. My name is, of course, everybody. Mike, going to be taking you through the action. I'm supposed to have SJ alongside with me, but for some reason he is unable to join the lobby and join the party. For some reason there's a technical issue for SJ, but we will persevere and I'll try to bring you the best action on my Todd here tonight. Of course, looking at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, it is of course a 6.1 kilometer circuit in length, and that is 3.8 miles there. Nice little translation between miles and kilometers, and of course a total of 27 corners around this track, and it's definitely going to be an interesting one. The walls very enclosing around this circuit. Looking at the tyre compounds everyone will be driving on, we'll have the C2 hard compound tyres, the C3 mediums, and of course the C4 soft compound tyre, along with the intermediate and wet tyres available for the drivers here tonight. 25 laps awaiting these guys as we look to get ourselves underway here in qualifying. Of course, if you did miss last week's race, it was of course a championship victory for CPI Esports. They take away the Elite Series Championship, but there's still quite a bit to fight for in the standings. Of course, Juventus Racing currently on 142 points. They are exactly 50 points behind the reigning champions here of CPI. So Juventus Racing, they are looking to try and keep a hold of P2 in the standings. They have ET8 on 127 points behind them, so only 15 points separating the top, second and third. So definitely something to fight for there, whether you're a Juventus Racing fan or an ET8 Esports fan. You could be looking at second in the championship by the end of tonight. WOR currently in 4th place on 95 points, with RCR Esports on 93 points in 5th place. Then of course we have NLR Development on 68 points in 6th, then IRT Academy on 53 points in 7th. Then we have a big gap down to X Esports currently on 14 points, and then tied on points in 9th and 10th, TTL Esports in 9th and Racing Venturi in 10th. So that is how the standings are looking coming into tonight. And of course we are currently on board with King as he's coming around to start his first flying lap. So let's go on board with the McLaren, the RCR driver, as he gets us undergoing here for a lap of Jeddah. DRS wide open now, running down the start finish straight, heading down in towards turn number 1. Going to be looking for the perfect braking zone around the 100 meter. They're breaking down into turn 1, getting through turn 2 quite lovely. Little kink of turn 3 as we run down in towards turn number 4. Very tricky corner. You don't want to be clipping that inside the wall through turn 4, but through turn 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 it is all about getting the angles right, and of course through 10 and 11 on the exit, and of course turn 12 running down into turn 13, where we will be seeing a fair few overtaking opportunities, that is for sure. Through turn 13 goes RCR King, through 14 now, and left hand and right hand kink of 15 into 16 here, and 17 on the exit. DRS will be wide open once again as we run down in towards turn 22. That is the next braking point, and let's see how RCR King navigates 22 and 23, and of course 24. Good exit there. DRS will be wide open once again as we run down towards the final braking zone at turn 27. Another key overtaking opportunity down here around the inside or around the outside. It is all possible. Good traction on the exit there for King as DRS will be wide open once again on the run to the line. Getting very close to the wall, and it's going to be a 126.4 to get us underway here in qualifying. So RCR King putting a provisional lap time on the board. We do have a Red Bull to the line of Mikela. He is coming for the final corner right now, so we'll see what Mikela can do in response to that lap time. We had IRT Mark on a set of mediums there with a 28 flat. Mikela looked like he went for an installation lap as Neil Shendrick there with a 27.1, and then Andreas for S2 Esports on a 26.5. Starting to get times coming in thick and fast as we got Spicer to the line, 26.6, and then of course we got the Ferrari coming to the line, and he's just getting himself underway as Bell has managed to get himself up into P4. Jaku coming through into P7 as Snipes there for WOR goes onto the top step in terms of pole position with a 26.2. Pepsin out of this qualifying session, unfortunately for the Ferrari, as we are still getting times coming in. On board with Ollie Olf as he comes to the line now, as we just saw Mista crossing the line for RVL, and Ollie Olf here crossing the line. That's a 29.2. Sergio coming through the middle sector, of course, on an invalid lap right now, and he is still pushing, so maybe he's looking to get a delta on the board. Maybe just try and make sure that he does get something there to work off of for his second run. But of course, coming through the final sector now, running down towards the final braking zone, he might come into the pits, but you never know, he might just be looking to get that delta on the board. Through turn 27 now, and on the exit will come Sergio, and I think he's going to bail out into the pits, and yes he does. So there we go. After the first round of qualifying runs are in, we have Snipes on provisional pole with a 26.2, then we got Igor on a 26.3, King on a 26.4, 26.5 for Fraser, marginally ahead of Andreas also on a 26.5, 26.6 for Spicer, and then of course Mikela on a 26.8, 26.9 for Bell, and then of course Francesco on a 27 flat, 27.1 for Neil Shendrick, Jaku on a set of medium, so a 27.5, definitely going to be improvements there, as Mika on a 27.7, 28 flat for Mark, 28.4 for Mr. and Ollie Olf on a 29.2. Bear with me guys as I look to try and confirm if SJ is completely out for this entire comms. We'll make sure we get all that done and dusted. Of course, we'll bring up the stream just to see what everyone is saying in the chat, guys. Let me know your predictions in the chat right now, and let's see if any of them are going to come to fruition. Bellwell currently out there on an outlap, as is King, and of course as is Mark and Saltaire. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but I'm going to go with Saltaire. We'll see if that is the correct pronunciation or not. When it comes to pronouncing names, guys, you know me, I'm very difficult when it comes to pronouncing names. But Mark about to get his second lap underway, currently in P13 on a 28 flat. Definitely needs to find a lot of time here in this second run. Let's have a look at the best laps that have come through on the tyre selection so far. Mark and Jaku actually also set their laps on medium, so there's definitely time there for the pair of them to find as we go through the first sector now with Mark. All about momentum through these corners, making sure you're able to keep the speed going, and that is an invalidation for Mark. Heartbreak for the IRT man, and he was up by 3.5 times coming into the sector 1 split. As we got Salta coming through, and he is yet to set a lap time, so we're not going to know whether this is going to be a competitive lap time or not until later on in this qualifying run. Coming through the right-left chicane now as DRS will be activated on the rundown in towards turn 22. Oh my god, absolute carnage here. What has gone on there? And that's Mark and Mister there, absolutely getting tangled up with each other. Both having a bit of an off there as Soltar goes up in the P9. What on earth has happened there between those two? And both of them are going to come into the pits, that's for sure. As Bell's on a lap, he's unfortunately invalidated. You got King coming through the final corner now. He's 2.5 times up. This could be provisional pole from RCR King. Can he get himself into the 25s at all here? As he crosses the line, it's a 26.1. So take provisional pole. But will we see 25s in this qualifying session? That is the question. Rombo with snipes right now. Currently in P2 in qualifying. The WR driver looking to get through and get himself up the order. Snipes now coming through towards the end of the lap. Going to be breaking into turn 27 in just a few moments. Is he going to be able to snatch provisional pole back off Andreas? And I think he may have potentially backed out of the lap here. And yeah, I think he has. Yeah, he's backed out. Andreas though did improve when he got himself up into P2. You got Igor on a lap right now. He is in the first sector, around about 600s down on his first sector time from his first run. Needs to find more time, does the CPI driver, but of course they have the championship wrapped up, so they're not under any pressure to perform to the same high standards that we've seen over the course of the season. Igor marginally up in the middle sector, now needs to find the rest of the time in the final sector. Can the CPI man get himself across the line? Big snap at the rear there for Igor. That definitely cost him a little bit, but has he been able to get himself to the line and improve on his lap time? No, he cannot. Of course, just a quick reminder for everyone in the chat, just to know which team's in what car. So in the Aston Martins, we have the NLR team. In the Red Bull Racing, we have the CPI Esports team. In the Williams, we have the IRT pairing. In the McLaren, we have RCR. In the Scuderia Ferraris, we have the ET8 drivers. In the Mercedes, we have the Juventus Racing team. Of course, an interesting battle between ET8 and Juventus Racing coming in tonight for second in the standings. X Esports are currently in the Alpine racing car, and of course WR are in the Alfa Romeos. The Alfa Tauris consist of TTL, and of course RVL are in the Haas F1 cars. 19 drivers here in the lobby. I'm trying to look to see which team is missing a driver, and I believe, just going through now, I mean, we got both McLarens here, we got both Alpines here, we got both Ferraris here, both Alfa Romeos are here, both Red Bulls are here, both Aston Martins are here, both Mercedes are here, both Alfa Tauris, and yeah, so is IRT missing a driver here tonight. Of course, IRT in the standings are in a bit of a no man's land. I mean, they're on 53 points in 7th place. They're 15 points behind NLR Development, so there was a possibility coming in tonight that they could have potentially jumped NLR with a good result here, but Unfortunately, fielding only one driver is going to be a little bit shaky for them. Mr. Joe coming through now with DRS running down in towards the final corner here towards turn 27. As we break down here with Mr. Joe for the final corner, and is this going to be an improved lap time from the RVL driver as he crosses the line? It's going to be a 27.7, so it is an improvement. It does get him up in the P15. Just over 3 minutes to go in the session. Now we have Andreas on an outlap, we have Snipes on an outlap, we have Fraser on an outlap as well. Mr. Joe has just crossed the finish line, and he is going to be trying to get himself back into the pits and potentially get himself out once again before the end of the session. As Andreas looking to get himself geared up for his final run. About 2.5 minutes remaining in the session. Of course, the lap time around here is 1 minute 26. Of course, 1 minute 27 if you're a little bit off the pace, but under 1 minute 30. So Mr. Joe will be hard pressed and might not be able to get back out in time, but we're on board with Andreas. Andreas currently P2 right now. He's on the front row. Needs to find around he needs to find 35 thousandths of a second on this lap to match King. Anything more than that and he will be on provisional pole. So let's see if he can do it as he goes through turn 4. Getting a little bit shaky there for Andreas, and he's backed out immediately. He knows the lap is gone right there. Snipes through turn 1 as he comes through turn 2 now. To the left hand, King to turn 3. Now turn 4. Let's see if he can navigate this better than we saw from Andreas. And that is a bit too early on the turn in. Into the wall and out of the session goes Snipes. His teammate Fraser now coming through turn 4. See his teammate there on the right hand side out of this session. And that is the danger around this circuit. One small mistake and that's it. You're in the wall. Fraser now coming to the first sector split. And let's see what he can do. And he is a 10.5 up in sector 1 as we go through turn 13 now, through 14 and now heading towards turn 15, breaking down into 16 and through the left hander of 17. DRS wide open once again as we run down in towards turn 22, and of course breaking down. Has a little bit of traffic in front of him. He wants to hope that he gets a good nice little tow off this car, and of course the car is going to get out of the way. Francesco gets a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking, which is heartbreak for him. Into the final braking zone now for WOR. Fraser comes up to the line. Is this going to be an improvement for the WOR driver as he looks to get himself up there with his teammate, crosses the line, and he's up in the P6 for a 26.3. Igor on a lap as well. First sector split, and he's over a 10.5 down on his time. King to the line, and it's an improved lap time. It's a 26 flat for King, not into the 25 zone, so there's still a possibility that we could see a 125 round here. Fraser's done for the session, so is Igor. We got Sergio now coming through the first sector. He is just getting himself underway as we saw Andreas back out of his lap. We saw Snipes go into the wall, and obviously out of this session. First sector split looks to be down on his time, so we'll come back on board as checker flag is out. Looks like Andreas not going to improve. King right now on provisional pole, 10.5 down, and look at that, that's Spicer in the wall there. As he goes across the line, up in the P4, Ollie Wolf up in the P8, Francesco 2 tenths up. He could get himself up ahead of Fraser here. This could be a P6 from Francesco Lago for Juventus Racing. Can the Juventus Racing man get himself up the order. We're going to find out now as we come through the final corner. DRS will be activated on the run towards the line, minimising the distance to the line. Will go Francesco up onto the front row is P2 for Francesco Lego, and I believe that is going to be the end of qualifying here as both Andreas and Fraser into the pits, retiring from the session. And yeah, that is the end of qualifying here, as we have support for Bell and King in the chat. Of course, King putting it on pole position, Bell all the way down in P13. So not the kind of performance that we're used to seeing from Bell here in qualifying, but definitely one to keep an eye on in the race, as he has shown many times he can get himself towards the front end of the grid. So we'll see if it's going to work out for him in the race itself. Okay, so let's run you through the order one more time. It is RCR King on pole position with Francesco Lego alongside him, but he does have a 5-place grid penalty, so he'll start from P7. So Sergio will be up into second, Andreas up into third, Igor up into fourth, Snipes up into fifth, and Fraser up into sixth, and then we have Francesco Lego in 7th place, Spicer in 8th, for Oliolf in 9th, Mikela rounding out the top 10, then we got Saltar in 11th, Jaco in 12th, Bell in 13th, Neil Shendrick in 14th, Mark will drop down behind Mika in 16th, and Pippin and Thiago will be 16th and 17th, as Mark will be 18th, and of course RVL Mr. will be in 19th place. I just want to confirm if we have a issue in terms of what is going on with the penalties, and it is confirmation that we will have a restart, so everyone will be retiring on track as soon as we get going, to make sure that we don't waste as much time in terms of getting the lobby set back up once again. So we will take a screenshot immediately of qualifying, just so that the lobby host will have the order ASAP. And we shall get going once again. So everyone will be retiring from the session, and we will see what happens. So there we go, everyone retiring from the session. From the looks of it, it doesn't look like we are going to be able to get SJ in the session to join me on comm, so it will be just myself on my own here, as just waiting for 3 drivers to retire from the session. Salta, Pepjin and Fraser, anytime you guys want to retire, that would be absolutely perfect. Fraser does retire. Now we just need Pepin and Saltar to retire, and now we just need Saltar to retire. So once he does retire, then we can get ourselves underway for this restart on the lobby. As soon as Salta wants to retire. Anytime now, Salta. If we have an RVL engineer in the chat, please inform Salta that we are doing a restart, and we are trying to get ourselves underway. Krypton in the chat saying, does he know he needs to retire? I mean, it's in the Discord. Everyone else is retired. And there we go. I think he wanted to try and get that lap. He wanted to get that first initial lap in just to see what he could do with it. But yeah, so we will be having a restart here. And we shall see what happens. Of course, in terms of qualifying, I will run you through the results once again. Of course, King did take pole position. Francesco Lego will be alongside him on the front row. Sergio in P3 with Andreas in P4. Igor will be in P5 and Snipes in P6. WR Fraser in P7 with Spicer in P8. Oliolf in P9 and Mikela rounding out the top 10. And then, of course, outside of the top 10, we have Solta, then we have Jaku, Bell, Neil Shandrick, IRT Mark, Mika, and then we got RVL Mr. Pebin, and of course Tiago rounding out the field. So we shall see how things transpire, and I'll try one more time to see if I can get SJ in. We'll try and get SJ in again alongside with me. Hopefully he can rejoin, and hopefully he can get into the lobby. Now that we are having a bit of a restart, of course we shouldn't be wasting too much time in the restart, but we'll have to wait and see as I look to try and get him into the session. Of course, it would help if he appeared online, and I believe that could be an issue. Might be the issue, but of course, as everything is getting set back up once again, let me run you through the standings as it currently stands. So CPI Esports crowned Elite Series champions last time out in Hungary. They sit on 192 points. Will they break the 200-point barrier here tonight? It's very likely. They have a 50-point gap to Juventus Racing, who are currently in second place. Juventus on 142 points, and they're under a bit of pressure from ET8 Esports, currently in P3 in the standings, only 15 points separating Juventus and ET8. Very, very doable here for ET8 to jump up into second. They're on 127 points, and they are currently P3 in the standings. Then we got a very close battle between WR Esports in 4th and RCR Esports in 5th. Only 2 points separating those two teams in 4th and 5th. 95 points for WR in 4th, and RCR on 93 points in 5th. NLR Development giving a bit of a break here tonight. They're currently in 6th on 68 points. Their nearest challengers, of course, IRT Academy, 15 points behind, but of course IRT only fielding the one driver here tonight, so advantage NLR Development here tonight in terms of that battle. Then, of course, we got the battle for the tail end of the championship. Currently in P8, we have X Esports on 14 points. And then, of course, we have TTL and Racing Venturi, both on 10 points apiece. So everything up for grabs at the tail end in terms of trying to get P8. Obviously, NLR should secure P6 with IRT down a driver here tonight. interesting. Going to be interesting to see if RCR or WOR is going to be CLP4 in the standings, and of course, it's going to be interesting to see if ET8 can overturn that 15-point advantage that Juventus Racing have coming into tonight. Of course, let me know in the chat your predictions. Who do you think is going to get the better of the other? Will we see ET8 get themselves second in the standings? Will Juventus hold on? Who will be the team that secures P4? Will it be WOR? Will it be RCR? And of course, which team will be taking home? Obviously, me being Welsh, I'm going to use a rugby metaphor. Who's taking home the wooden spoon? Who's taking home P10? Will it be Racing Venturi, TTL, or X Esports? Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Your predictions. Get them in. Alright, so as we transition into the race, of course, 25 laps awaiting these 19 drivers as we look to get the season finale underway and, of course, bring a close to a fantastic season here in DKMN Esports. Of course, at the same time, we do have the Prodigy series going on as well. Of course, that is on the second, that is on F7 Racing Twitch channel. So if you guys are wondering where Prodigy is, it is currently on F7 Racing's Twitch channel, and Nathan's going to be taking you through the action in Prodigy. Of course, hopefully that will be saved, downloaded, the VOD will be downloaded and uploaded onto DKMN Esports after the fact. But as it currently stands in Prodigy, at least, I mean, in terms of the standings, I mean, CPI, they haven't technically wrapped it up yet, but they're there. They're pretty much there. They're on 181 points, and the nearest competitors is X Esports on 157. So it is mathematically possible for X Esports, but is, of course, pretty unlikely. Of course, 24 points the gap between those two teams. And our development second team in Prodigy is in P3 in the standings. They're on 149 points, so it is still possible for them as well to get themselves the championship in Prodigy. So 3 teams still in it in the Prodigy series, and of course a very close battle for 4th between DKMN and LRN. But we're here now for Elite Series. 5 red lights are out and we are underway here for the season finale. A very good start there from King down the inside. Will go Andreas on Sergio as they side by side on the exit through turn 2. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see Igor trying to put some pressure on Snipes up ahead. And it looks like a big collision at the back. And oh my god, absolutely carnage at the back. What has gone on here? Oh, Neil Shendrick and Salter coming together through the start of this, and Bell all the way down there as well, missing an M plate. No front wing there for Mark for IRT, so it's going to be some early pit stops, but fortunately for them it is a safety car situation right now, so it is going to be the safety car out for these guys. Let's run through and see who has managed to gain the most positions thus far. So we got Snipes up 1 spot on Igor. We got Jakku up 4 places. Pippin up 6 spots. Tiago up 5. Mista up 4. Mika up 1. And of course, we have our drivers who have unfortunately lost out quite considerably. Obviously, Ego down 1 spot, Spicer down 2 spots, Mikela down a spot, and then of course our big losers down here towards the back end. Mark down a spot, and then 4 spots lost for Bell and Neil Shendrick, and a massive 8 spots lost for RVL Salter. And of course Salter was the driver that wanted to get that lap practice in before we had the restart, and yeah, I mean, that lap practice, I mean, it is beneficial unless you get caught up in a lap 1 incident in the main race. So unfortunately for Salter, that is exactly what's happened. We got 6 drivers into the pits: Mark, Pippin, Neil Shendrick, Salter, Mikela, and of course Bell in the pits. And Salter going for a set of the soft tyres. Everyone else opting for a set of mediums, apart from Neil Shendrick going for a set of the hard compound tyres. So a little variation there in the pit lane there for all the action in the pits, as 4 of the 6 drivers opting for a set of mediums, and of course Salter and Neil Shendrick opting for a different compound entirely. The C2 hard tyres for Neil Shendrick and the C4 soft tyres for Salter. Of course, lap 2 of 25, we are under safety car conditions, so everyone will be bunched back up, and I hope we'll get back going at the end of this lap, but I doubt it. I think we'll be under safety car for at least another lap, so we'll have to wait and see, as almost everyone has caught up to the train now coming into the final sector. Yeah, we're going to have safety car out for 1 more lap. It is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Of course, in the chat right now is the link to the Prodigy Series race as well, so make sure you guys jump on over, show some love for Prodigy Series as well. It is actually on YouTube, so I was a little bit mistaken earlier. I thought it was on Twitch, but it is actually on YouTube. The channel is Formula 7 Racing, as I can't lie, looking at some of the drivers that are in Prodigy, I mean, some very good drivers that I would have thought would have been more attuned to up here in Elite, but it is the way it is, and hopefully Prodigy will be in for a absolutely fantastic race there tonight. Still under safety car conditions here, as we should be getting underway at the end of this lap, so we won't be under safety car conditions for much longer. We are on lap 3 of 25. DRS will not be enabled until lap 6, and of course the drivers will be looking to try and make sure they can get through a fair few laps without any more safety car and any more issues here in Elite, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, now the grid being backed up by RCR King as he looks to get underway here. To get racing back again through the final corner goes the McLaren. He hasn't gone yet. Francesco needs to be alert on this restart, as King has gone. He has absolutely timed that very well. And look at Sergio all underneath the rear wing of Francesco as we've gone into turn number 1. Sergio around the outside. Is he going to be able to pull this off? He keeps his nose in for turn 2. Small bit of contact between the pair of them. Meanwhile, in behind, you can see, I believe that was Fraser and Igor getting very close to each other. Or it was Jaku and Fraser in the background. But Francesco keeps a hold of P2. And of course, Sergio has to settle down for P3. Remember, this is Juventus Racing versus ET8. Right here between the Mercedes driver Francesco and of course the Ferrari of Sergio. Unfortunately for the second drivers for both teams, I mean, Pippin all the way down in 17th and of course Thiago down in 12th place, as we've got an interesting battle for P14 going on between Mikola and Belbel, as they are scrapping it out between the pair of them. But we're going to stick on board with what's going on towards the front end of the action. You got Jaku all over the back of Fraser. Jaku on the set of the soft compound tyres. As we just got information, Snipes is driving without a setup. My God, and he has just been overtaken by Igor. So Snipes there driving without a setup. That is 100% going to hinder the WOR driver throughout this entirety of this race. And honestly, if I'm Snipes and I'm not having a setup, maybe a little bit of team orders, you know, just get out of the way of Fraser and try and hold up Jaku behind. That would be what I would be thinking if I was Snipes, because right now no setup is not really ideal for the WOR pairing. Jaku still in there behind Spicer, still on the back of his teammate in P9 and P10. Thiago managed to get himself up into P11. Pippin getting through on Mista as RVL falls further back. And of course we do have Neil Shendrick down there in 19th as well. So the battle between Mista absolutely cutting the corner there, absolutely disgracefully, if I must say, as Igor closes up to the back of Andreas to P4. Of course, the medium tyres versus the hards. You would expect Igor to have more pace than these guys ahead of him currently, as King is just on the teetering edge of being able to break DRS to Francesco, but Francesco doing a great job in holding on. The gap 9 tenths of a second. As now DRS is enabled and the first activation will be down in towards the turn 22. So yeah, it is an opportunity for King to try and break away here in the first sector, but he needs to break away and break away quick. But it doesn't look like that's happening because Francesco is closing in somewhat. Thiago though losing out on Spicer. That could be interesting, but looks like he's managed to get it back in the second phase of the first sector, and he's just about on the edge of it, and he's just outside now. So he's lost a bit once again. Needs a good run out here on the ERS, trying to close up. But meanwhile, up ahead, you've got Igor on the back of Andreas, and is this going to be a potential overtake here for the CPI driver? As no, he's actually going to second behind. And Oliof has actually lost out to Jaku here. And look at this now, Igor, fantastic run on Andreas and getting that position done and dusted. Igor on the set of the mediums will be making a pit stop a lot earlier than these guys on the hard, so a little bit out of sync. And right now those medium tyres are working to perfection for the CPI driver. As Snipes is into the pits, and is this a retirement from Snipes? Is this wing damage for Snipes? Actually, I'll stay in here and let's have a look. Is this wing damage? No, it is not. It's a tactical change to a set of the medium tyres for Snipes. We'll have to see if that pays off. He's going for a big old undercut here. Is Snipes, of course, driving for WOR these days. I know his PSN says VIR, but of course has transferred over to WOR now. Transfer season has... Oh, big snap there from Ego. I was about to say that transfer season has actually been a bit hectic in terms of people swapping from one team to another. A lot of teams closing down as well, causing a lot of free agent situations. So good to see drivers testing themselves in new teams, of course, as Ego closing up to the back of Sergio here for that final spot on the podium. And look at this, King under pressure from Francesco up ahead, and King could lose out here on free positions. Look at Ego down the inside, free wide into the final corner. Ego is going to make this double overtake Merc. No, he's not. He's going to get a little bit loose on the exit, and that could potentially open things up here for the likes of... it's actually... Sergio moved over to actually give Ego the slipstream to try and get through on King. And Sergio now side by side with King on the exit of turn 2. You got Andreas that's just in behind as well. Neil Shendrick has retired from the session into the pits. He went and retired from the session. So unfortunately for Neil Shendrick, and he is out of this race. Look at this. King getting a little bit out of shape in the first sector. Andreas there getting a little bit caught up. Oh my god, Andreas there almost swiping across Fraser as we run down into turn 13, and my god, it has gotten a bit elbows out here between these three drivers, especially because they are scrapping for absolutely every little bit of track that they can get. And this is fantastic stuff between Fraser, Andreas and King. As Andreas and Fraser once again back through with the help of DRS, but look at Fraser essentially pushing Andreas through the corner. Goes a bit deep though, and he's into the wall, and my god, Fraser getting a little bit out of shape there, and that has definitely cost him hugely as Jakku gets through on King. Up in the P5 goes the X Esports man, but will King come back at him on the run down in towards turn number 1? And it looks like no, King's coming into the pits. King is in as Sergio takes the lead over from Francesco. Ego is currently sat in behind and looking for his opportunity. Andreas 1 second out the window now, but he does have a little bit of fresh air to push into to try and close back up. No dirty air immediately in front of him, and of course he has his teammate in behind, so not going to be under a huge amount of pressure from anyone in behind, because of course Mikela 1.8 off the back of Jakku, and of course that is how things are looking there. Neil Shendrick retiring from the session, not what you wanted to see if you are a TTL fan. Of course Mika currently on the edge of points, shall we say, of course in P11 right now, but of course everyone out of sync from those at the back due to Bell, King and Spicer and Snipes also making a pit stop. Of course Snipes has come out 8.1 seconds ahead of King, so that's just showing how good the undercut is around here. Look at Francesco going to go for this move, job done with DRS, but we'll see who picked up the DRS between these two, and it looked like it was Francesco. But look at Ego now drawn alongside. It's going to be free wide into turn 1. Surely someone will have to back out, and in fact it is going to be Sergio who backs out. Francesco goes through into P2, but Ego now into the race lead. Andreas now is right on the back of this, and he has his teammate in behind for tow. Lap 10 of 25. Ego for CPI currently in the race lead. Francesco for Juventus Racing in P2. And then we got the ET8 driver of Sergio in P3. And of course, the top three in the team standings are, of course, CPI, Juventus Racing, and ET8. Of course, we've got the S2 Esports pairing of Andreas and Jaku right now having a very good performance, looking to solidify a P8 at the end of this championship. WOR currently in P7 with Fraser, and of course, in terms of their battle with RCR, Bell is currently considerably behind the likes of King and Snipes, and you gotta think Fraser is going to be coming out probably in the middle of the pair of them. So Snipes obviously ahead of King, and I believe Fraser will come out well ahead of Bell. So it's going to be interesting to see how that team battle carries on in this race, as back up towards the front, Francesco closing in but not close enough to go for a move into turn 1 this time around. Pippin making moves, getting up the order, obviously just overtaking Fraser. Up into P7 now goes the ET8 driver, and this is crucial because Pippin has managed to get himself ahead of Thiago, who's currently down in P9. Of course, he is still within range of Pippin here for P7, but currently it's not the way it is looking for Juventus Racing right now. Under pressure from Sergio is Francesco, and of course Francesco needs to finish ahead of Sergio to make it a lot more difficult for ET8 to jump in the standings. Remember, 15 points separated the two teams coming into tonight. Of course, it's traditional F1 point system, so 25 for the race win, 18 for second place, 15 for third. And of course, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Rounding out the final points inside the top 10. And of course, a point for the fastest lap as well. Francesco closing in, turns off the DRS before going into the final corner, and now we are going to see what the game plan is for Francesco. Not really pushing the DRS, in fact closing it on the run down into turn 1. Doesn't want to go for the overtake on Igor thus far. I think he's comfortable sitting behind the man on the medium tyre. It's just comfortable right now. It's the only word for it. And Snipes has managed to get through on Mr. Joe. So Snipes up to 13th, 6.7 second bit of air in front of him for him to push into. 6.1 gap between King and Misto. Of course, that is rapidly closing down with King on his fresh tyres. Mr. Joe still trying to do his best to keep with Snipes here, but Snipes absolutely going to pull away from him in this first sector and absolutely bolt up the road. Fraser still doing well to hold on to Pipkin here, but will he be able to make sure that he can stay with the ET8 driver? That's going to be the question. Mikela getting through on Jaku. Jaku's tyres, I think, have now fallen away, and yeah, 2 seconds off the back of Andreas. He's definitely fallen away from his teammate. Possibly going to be seeing a pit stop here from Jaku, maybe for a set of the medium compound tyres, but he's going to try to retake P5 around the outside. He's going to look for a little bit of a switch back here in the final corner. No, he's actually going to sit out of it, and he's going to come into the pit lane, and that is the first stint over and done with now for Jaku. Let's see where Jaku comes out relative to the likes of Snipes and King. King is currently in P15, and obviously was in that battle with Andreas and Sergio. Of course, we're going to see what's going to happen here. Obviously, Snipes has gone through, and there goes King through up into P13. Jaku will come out in a lot of clear air in P14, so we shall see. In fact, he's not too far behind King. Not too far, so it is on for Jaku. He's got full lap pressure tyres. King's going to get a little bit held up by Mister if he can't make the overtake happen ASAP. But look how much grip he's got in this first sector. Through the lefts and rights. Look at the grip. He's absolutely flying. Job done for King. and absolutely nothing that Mr. Joe could do. As yeah, P12 now for King, 4.2 seconds the gap between him and Snipes. So that is the gap to keep an eye on. Pippin still ahead of Fraser and Thiago here across the battle for P6, and back up towards the front. You've got Francesco and Sergio getting close to the back of Igor, but neither of them willing to make an overtake happen. And no one diving into the pits thus far. Lap 13 as we begin lap 14 as Francesco now through into the race lead. But look at that, Igor tries to send it back down the inside, loses the back end, locking up through turn 1, avoids contact there between the Juventus Racing and CPI driver. And of course Sergio there being very aware of what was going on in front of him, which of course is great to see. Andrea still there in behind, of course the S2 Esports driver, looking for a fantastic result here. Oh my god, Francesco goes off. He gets a little bit out of shape. Oh, he's come back on track. Contact with Sergio. And as I reset the track for Francesco, Andreas and Sergio are out this race. My god, what's going on here? Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, it's safety car conditions once again on lap 14. Francesco going off track, having to come back on, makes contact with Sergio, tags him around. And then Sergio and Andreas somehow coming into contact with each other. And both of those two drivers out of this race. I'm not sure what happened between Sergio and Andreas, because we saw what happened with Francesco. And my god, I'm wondering, did the contact with Francesco put Sergio in a bit of a moment and he's had to catch it, and unfortunately a little bit of contact made between him and Andreas and both of them get wiped out. That is what I'm potentially thinking what has happened there. Obviously we will have to, you know, get confirmation on what happened there. I mean, if anyone in ET8 or S Esports can let me know what exactly happened, please in the chat let us know. But the top 4 all in. Igor on a set of the soft tyres. Mikela will obviously be putting on a set of softs as well. We should be seeing soft tyres going on for a majority of drivers here. In fact, Mikela going for a set in the mediums, so there we go, I'm wrong. Fraser, Pippin also on softs. And this race has now just been turned a little bit on its head. As in the chat, Evil One obviously saying perfect, and Krypton saying about the rejoin from Francesco. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, all either of you can do is put it into the stewards now. But that's essentially it. That's all that can happen now is you know, just putting it into the stewards and seeing what outcome they will say for that. And of course, commiserations there for both Sergio and Andreas out of this race. Andreas on for a fantastic result for the S2 Esports team, and Sergio was right there battling with Francesco for trying to get P2 in the team standings. Of course, now with Sergio out of the race, it is all on Pippin, and of course with Francesco and Thiago both being in the points right now, it's interesting. It's interesting. Of course, the WR pairing of Fraser and Snipes both inside the top 10, and both RCR drivers outside the top 10. So as it currently stands, WR are doing enough to hold on to P4 here in the standings. Of course, IRT, Mark currently in P8. He is getting points, which is good for him, but obviously not enough to close up on NLR, who of course down in 14th and 15th place respectfully. S2 Esports not getting any points right now, because of course Andreas out of the race and Jakku down in 13th on a set of soft tyres. So they are under a bit of pressure, because you got Mika currently in P6 on fresh softs. Mika for TTL is currently on course to pick up 8 points here, and of course that would jump him ahead of S2 Esports in the standings. Salter currently in P9. He's on relatively fresh medium tyres. it's not enough for the Racing Venturi team as it currently stands, because they're being outscored by TTL at this current moment in time, and they are not doing enough to outscore X Esports. They need to overtake IRT Mark just to be level with X Esports. Anything higher, and then they'll be moving ahead of X Esports as it currently stands. But Jakku, with an opportunity on those soft tyres, could potentially come back into this. Support in the chat for King saying it is hammer time. I mean, King currently down in P11. Obviously, King's pace, he should be able to make his way past a couple of these drivers up ahead of him. The issue for King is the soft runners in front of him, and how difficult it's going to be for him to catch them before those soft tyres run out of pace. Support for Mark in the chat as well, of course, currently in P8. It's not enough to move IRT up or down any positions, and it is unfortunate only being able to field one driver here tonight is IRT, but he is doing well currently in the points for IRT, which is fantastic to see. We got Marlon in the chat saying King in the mud. I mean, King was in a, I want to say King was in a net P2 because he went for the undercut and the safety car comes out. So I don't think King was in the mud. I think he was on for a net P2 once everyone made their pit stops, but obviously the safety car come out, fresh tyres for everyone, and of course King has a lot of work to do now. So we'll see what King can do from P11. Safety car, I believe, should be in this lap, hopefully. Yep, there we go. It is a late call from race control. Safety car is in this lap. Eagle will control the pace. Fraser and Pittman, obviously the three of them on soft compound tyres, should be able to pull away from the likes of Francesco and Mikela. Mika in P6 has an opportunity here to try and get himself up the order, and that'll help TTL out in the standings. And here we go, he's already gone. Eagle has bolted here out of the final corner, and on the run down in towards turn number 1, CBI Mika has not been caught napping whatsoever. Tiago on the back of Mika, and no, he's not going to go for anything there as Mark there down the inside of Salter, and look at Snipes around the outside. Job done on those soft tyres, and King has to settle in behind for P11 for the time being as we run through the first sector. The twisty left, right, so difficult to keep it on track, so difficult to get your line right when you are following another car. But the grip advantage of Snipes right now on those soft tyres, most of the inside for turn 13, he's going to get job done, and King down the inside of Salter as well. Up into P10 goes RCR King, and now we are going to see some overtakes happen as these guys on the softs are looking to try and get their way up the order. You see how quickly Snipes is closing in on Tiago here. Jakku looking to get himself up the order as King gets through on Mark. Up in the P9 goes RCR King. Remember, as it currently stands, RCR are going to be staying in P5. Of course, NLR, both drivers not in the points, so they have no threat currently from NLR in behind. Of course, NLR are 25 points behind, so very unlikely that NLR from this position will be getting themselves up the order. Bell and Spicer there side by side running down in towards turn number 1. Bell needs to get himself into the top 10 to give himself a chance. Look up in front of him. No, you've got Mister down the inside of Jakku. Little bit of contact there between Spicer and Mister, and Bell there getting a little bit caught out with that little bit of contact, but gets past Mister. Up into P14 goes the RCR driver. He's all over the back now of Spicer, but doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make a move unless he gets a fantastic run out this corner. Oh, and that is good hard defending there from Spicer, placing his car in the right position to block off Bell from having a look down the inside. And of course, Bell now down the inside of turn 13 gets the job done on those tyres. In fact, Spicer going to try and come back at him, but unable to do so. So Bell will take a hold of P13 as you got Jakku on the back of both Salter and Mark. So I mean, that's the support was there for Mark. He could be looking at dropping outside of the top 10 here. Snipes closing up to the back of Thiago, and of course Mika trying to close up back into the DRS train of Francesco, and needs those soft tyres to come into effect here and get himself into this. DRS is now enabled, lap 19 of 25. Igor has absolutely bolted away up front for CPI, as you've got Fraser under pressure now from Pippin, who is looking at a P2 finish, but of course the only ET8 driver here in this race. Spicer's retired from the session. Into the pits comes Spicer, and he is out of this race and leaves the session. And not sure if there's any contact there between Spicer and the guys he was battling, but unfortunate for the NLR driver. Basically, this battle for P2 in the standings, I think, is going to come down to what happens with the Francesco rejoin situation, and if Francesco gets a big enough penalty that drops him well down the order, and Pittman can get himself a podium finisher. That's the only thing I can see as a potential possibility of happening, because you can see Pittman over the back of Fraser. It's only a matter of time before this overtake happens. Mika is going to lose out to Francesco in terms of DRS, and of course they're not really going for it though thus far. And oh, a little bit of contact there, Mikela, a little bit of tap, and oh my god, that's Pippin out of this race. And it's a virtual safety car. Both ETA drivers are out of this race. Contact into the final corner from Mikela into Pippin, and then of course a bit of contact between Francesco and Pippin there, as the back end was completely gone for Pittman, and of course out of the session goes the ETA driver. So heartbreak for the pair of them. Both Juventus racing drivers now, both of them making pit stops. So they are, I mean, mathematically only WOR can jump Juventus racing, if my maths is correct. And it might not be. In fact, no, it's not. So right now, it is confirmed Juventus Racing are P2 in the championship. ET8 potentially could fall to P4. Obviously, 18 points gained right now for Fraser in this current moment in time. Could be down to 15, as Fraser is going to be under pressure from Mikela. Mikela is going to go through up into P2 for a CPI 1-2 here. Fraser's actually going to battle it out and hold it on the inside. Snipes gets through up into P4 momentarily, and now he is under pressure from King in behind. But here comes Snipes on Mika up into P4, and here comes King through as well. King's going to look for a double overtake down the inside in towards turn number 1. Not close enough to get that move done. Salter up into P7, Mark down to P8. Oliolf in P9, and of course Bellwell in P10. And I have just noticed something. Both Racing Venturi and TTL are doing enough to give the wooden spoon to X Esports here. X Esports will finish this championship season in last place if everything stays as it is. Right now, obviously, Fraser and Snipes are currently earning a grand total of 27 points for their team. And of course, the gap between WOR and ET8, an extra 5 points is needed as King gets through and up into P4 there with DRS, and of course Oliolf and Mark trying to get through. Oh, bit of contact there between Oliolf and Mark as they come through turn 22 and 23, and of course that's going to allow Bell to come through as well. WR are doing enough though to hold off RCR for P4 in the standings. Oh, and that is contact there, Mark and Bell. Contact between those two into the final corner. Lap 22 of 25. As Oliov gets through on Salter. And up into P7 goes the NLR driver. And yeah, I mean, NLR, they're comfortably in 6th place right now. IRT are comfortably in 7th in the standings. WR right now and that is it then. X Esports 100% out of this race. As oh my god, what have we just seen there between Mr. Joe and Tiago? Little bit of contact between the pair of them on a straight. On a straight, guys. Bell looking down the inside of Salter. Here, remember, if Salter does not finish 8th or higher, they have no chance of getting up the order in the team championship. So as it currently stands, RVL are getting the wooden spoon in this in the Elite Series, and they are losing out. I mean, TTL will jump up ahead of X Esports if it stays as it is. The top 3 bunching up again. CPI 1-2. Of course, they won the championship last week, and they're looking to end the season with a bang here. Salter realizing what is at stake for RVL if he is in 9th place is not enough for RVL to not finish last in this series as it currently stands. Miga for TTL currently in P6 will jump TTL Esports ahead of X Esports for P8 in the standings. Racing Venturi currently gaining 2 points on X Esports. If Salter can get himself ahead of Bell, do you know what that means? That means that they will be tied on points, X Esports and Racing Venturi. And of course, Oliov with that time penalty just ahead of him. That's P7 for Salter if he can get himself ahead of Bell here. So that is what's on the line here. The battle for the wooden spoon between X Esports, TTL Esports and Racing Venturi is on. And of course the battle between RCR and WR is a little bit sporadic right now because WR do have the upper hand. Of course, 25 points being gained for WR, and of course ET8 and ET8 are obviously gaining nothing in this race, and of course they are 7 points off the back of ET8 right now. So Snipes, Bell, King's around, King's in the wall, King is gone, King's in the wall, my god, King around, King into the, actually no, he's going to continue on, doesn't visually have damage, but he has lost a huge amount of time and a huge amount in terms of positions. Now WR absolutely in prime position here. Snipes has fallen behind Mika here, so that does indicate a little bit of contact between Snipes and King perhaps, but yeah, I mean, with Mika now up into P4, Snipes needs to get this move done on the TTL Esports man. Fraser now up into P2. The gap is 4 points between WR and ET8. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the gap. 4 points between ET8 and WOR for third place in the championship series. And of course, Fraser is within DRS range of Igor, and that could mean a race victory for Fraser. And of course, Mikela, oh, actually, this might not work out well for Fraser. He is going to go for the overtake here, and he will take the race lead, but now he won't have DRS, and I don't think Mikela and Igor are going to push to try and get back through here. In fact, actually, Igor is going to push to get back through, and it's going to be side by side between Fraser and Mikela into turn 1. Of course, this is a battle right now. CPI trying to end the season in dominant fashion here with a 1-2 finish. Fraser right now, if he wins this race, it is going to be WOR finishing ahead of ET8 in the standings. That is what is up for grabs right now. Oh, look at Snipes closing up to the back of Mika, but not making the move. Of course, as we saw earlier in the race, heartbreak for both ET8 drivers, leading to both of them out of this race, which of course has handed P2 in the championship to Juventus Racing, and has now put them in a situation where it is about to come down to this final DRS zone, the final DRS strength. Fraser and Snipes looking to try and get themselves up the order, as Mikola is going to come through on Eagle. Fraser was a little bit too far back in the end. Snipes does get through on Mika though, so there's 27 points for the WR pairing, as it's a 1-2 finish for CPI. It's a 3-4 finish for WR. It's not enough to jump themselves up into P3 in the standings, but post-race penalties could come into play as Soltar gets himself into P7. So both TTL and RVL get themselves ahead of X Esports in the standings. They finish at the back of the grid. Both Juventus Racing drivers out of this, out of the points, and absolutely chaotic end to the season. ET8 are going to feel very aggrieved with that race, and of course what happened there, and CPI are going to be, it's the icing on the cake for CPI, because obviously they won the championship last week, and it's a 1-2 finish from this week. Will there be any reports there for CPI? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see and find out with that. But as it currently stands, it is a CPI 1-2 finish. It is a WOR driver joining them on the podium. Fraser, fantastic race from him. And of course you had Snipes coming through in P4. So a 3-4 finish for WOR. It wasn't quite enough to take home P3 in the standings. Of course, both WR drivers gaining 27 points. They needed an extra 5 points out of this race to, just draw level with ET8, and an extra 6 points would have put them ahead of ET8. So unfortunately you needed Fraser to take that race win. But we'll run you for the order one more time. There's CPI Mikola, who takes victory ahead of his teammate Igor in second place, who also picked up the fastest lap of the race. Fraser in P3 for WOR, and of course Snipes in P4 for WOR. TTL Mika gets himself a P5 finish and jumps his team TTL Esports up into P8 in the championship, as RCR King comes home in P6. RVL Satar has come through in P7 and jumps himself into P9 in the standings for Racing Venturi. RCR Bellboy comes through in P8. IRT Mark comes home with points in P9, and NLR in P10. Francesco in 11th, Mista in 12th, and Tiago, the final finisher. And of course our non-finishers were Jaku, Pittman, Spicer, Sergio, Andreas, and Neil Shendrick there for TTL, our final non-finisher. And of course, provisionally right now, CPI Esports, right, they won the championship, job done. Juventus Racing, job done, P2. ET8 Esports, currently right now, in P3 in the standings, they are 5 points ahead of WOR. So if there's any reports now that benefit WOR, they could potentially get jumped. So WOR, they are secured fourth, possibility for third, depending on any reports and that. ET8 are currently third as it stands, but as mentioned, any reports that go in favour of WOR could potentially jump WOR ahead of ET8. So we have to see on that. RCR comfortable P5, NLR comfortable P6, IRT comfortable P7, and then at the back, X Esports, both drivers out of this race, has dropped them from 8th in the championship all the way down to the wooden spoon in 10th place. Of course, TTR with a fantastic result. They jump up into P8. And of course, Racing Venturi in the final race of the season, picking up a P7 here, has managed to give them enough points to jump them ahead of X Esports. Obviously, any reports could change that bottom three right there, and of course it could change the battle for third in the championship between ETA and WOR. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but there we go. As it stands, CPI 1-2 finish, obviously champions of the DKMN Elite Series, and thoroughly deserved from CPI in total. But of course, with that, it brings an end not only to the final race here in Saudi Arabia, but of course brings an end to season 3 in DKMN Esports Elite Series, and of course Prodigy Series as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you all the action throughout the course of this season. But of course, for now guys, I have been Ivorbrain Mike, and we will hopefully see you back here once again for the start of season 4, whenever that may be. But until then guys, is goodbye from me.